things are changing every day for life in general, but also in the world that we live in with marketing and kind of measuring those metrics and performance and really looking at the numbers. Because I think on the surface, a lot of times people think what we do is that basic social media content
Don't
creation.
say it.
But
Don't
there's so much more to it. Yeah, you said don't say it, but talk to me a little bit about, the differences between, that social media marketing and then that social performance marketing that we do here at Idea Creative.
Yeah, so it does bother me a little bit. You have to have both. You have to have social media marketing. That's what creates the awareness about your brand, keeps everything on your page relevant and up to date, content creation, and then also builds advocates if you have a good social media program. So that you have to have. What we do is we combine performance metrics. So it's social marketing, social performance marketing. And with that, we always have specific conversion goals and specific audiences. But we really combine social media marketing with the performance systems so that we have a more rounded approach and we can provide actual measurable results, which helps you, the business, in how much money you're spending, what are you getting out of that money, and where are your audience going, where are they coming from. So all of those fun things.
Because obviously running a business, owning a business, trying to build a brand, whatever the case may be, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit venture for you, there are so many things that you are trying to keep up with, pay attention to, and obviously coming up with that marketing plan or strategy is vital in a lot of cases to making the difference between succeeding and failing. And once you kind of peel back that layer, that first layer or whatever it may be, there's a whole lot there that has to be explored and maintained and taken care of. So you make sure that you are getting a return on those ad spends. So what, from your experiences in marketing and doing this, what are people or business owners doing right off the bat that they may be making mistakes and maybe not? Is it not knowing the difference between that return on ad spend versus the return on investment, the ROI?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Your return on investment, marketing it does lead to revenue generation. Obviously, that's the goal. But there are a lot of aspects of marketing, like content generation, content building and creating, and management, events, all of those things that are non-revenue generating. So if you're just looking at your return on investment, it's going to be skewed. And that can be very discouraging, to know that you're spending all of this money and then you look at, you do a couple of paid ads in there, but that's not going to be a fair representation of what your actual return on marketing is. And that's when you really need to look at, you need to, one, have a dedicated budget for advertising, and we need to look at your return on ad spend, so that we're actually looking at apples to apples, because there are a lot of things that are just, you have to have, but they do not produce direct revenue. So we've got to keep those costs in mind when we're looking at actual returns. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is just how easy it is to create an ad, and not having an actual strategy. Facebook now literally sends you emails and notifications that say, boost this post, your post is performing 95% better. Those are very misleading typically, and you can waste a lot of money. I don't ever recommend boosting an ad or a post. It's really about creating ads and within a strategy. I mean, you want to make sure that your content is, one, it matches what you do and your demographics and your target audience, and then you're putting it on the right channels. And all of those things, and then being able to measure what is your actual goal. Boosting a post gives you very little options on how to measure it and also how to target.
So when you create an ad, and it kind of, like you said, goes hand in hand and is tandem with the content that you're creating. So you don't want to necessarily create an ad that isn't matching, and it doesn't have to be identical, but you want to have it to where you're in the same, at least, area of what you're trying to sell for that particular time period.
Yeah, I mean, you want blatant promotional efforts just don't work on social media. It's a social channel. So when somebody follows you or shows any kind of interest in your page and then they start getting ads, it needs to have the same look and feel. So what we do see a lot is posting will be done in-house by a lot of different businesses, and then they will outsource the ad portion. That leads to very disconnected ads and organic posts. And that one not only affects how you look to a consumer, but it also looks like blatant advertising. So they have a lower performance. But just overall, in the Facebook algorithm, you will get a lower quality ranking. It needs to match, it needs to perform, and people need to follow your objective. So if it's a lead or a click or a sale, it needs to work, or else Facebook just starts to show it less or charge you more per impression, per click, per lead, and that's not what we want.
How do you measure? How do you know, as a creator or a business owner, if you are one that's doing this kind of on your own? How do you look at those numbers, and how do you know what is working and what is something that maybe, a good number or a good statistic to look at?
I think here's another reason or ways that businesses go wrong. They look at standard KPIs. And those are really going to help. That's what Facebook provides, is your standard KPI, your clicks, your impressions, all of those things, which gives you a pretty good idea of your ad spend. But really, you need to go more in depth, and you need to make sure that you're developing content specific to audience segments. So say you're selling a product that really anyone from 18 all the way to 65 could use, and they do use. We're going to have to break that down. So it's very easy to go in and create one ad and say, okay, well, everybody buys this product, so let's just put it out there. Those are always going to have lower results. They are broad nets. So creating ad sets, it takes a lot of time. You can spend days just in ad creation, but it's what's necessary so that you can get the most return on your ad spend.
And, obviously this is something that we do. Some clients require or need more ads than others. What is the rule of thumb, though? Do you recommend ads for someone that maybe isn't necessarily selling anything? Does that make sense? Like, if you're just trying to raise that brand awareness for who you are, is that a good ad spend for someone, or are they better off with doing just regular organic posting and trying to build an audience that way?
Well, organic posting, as anybody with a Facebook page knows, has just plummeted. It's very hard to get back into the algorithm. Right now, it's a little bit easier because of frequency of post. It's down, but typically it's very, very hard. And so even when you have just the reach or impressions, brand awareness campaigns, you need to have a dedicated ad budget for those. But we need to remember to segment. So even if you're just doing a branding awareness, where you may have a video that is just about your company and you feel like that's broad, but there's still going to be textual changes within that that you need to really target to your audience. and maybe a 15-second and a 30-second, and then maybe a long form of your video, just depending on what your users watch, what they are trained to do, and you want to expand. So giving people what they want, that's what social channels are all about. We want to personalize as much as possible, and generic ads, they just don't cut it. They're very easy to create. You can do it in 5 minutes. There are third-party apps that will create them. But when you're talking long-term strategy and making sure that you're getting a return, you've got to have really a team of people that can break down that data so that you have a long-term plan. You can get some very quick results from a very broad campaign. But then when you go to retarget, it's very difficult. So, and then it hurts you in the long run from just the algorithm. So we really have to pay attention. If you are creating an ad, you really need to set a goal. So is it traffic to your website? Are you trying to get more engagement? Are you trying to get, email addresses and names, lead generation, or are you trying to get somebody to buy a product? And when you do set up an ad to buy product, always expand your metrics and look at overall value, because it's going to show that they purchased the product, but it is a good metric to look at and see what else they bought. Mm-hmm. Or it could be a product. You always see the suggested items with your products. So we really want to look at that, because that could be a great lead-in to help you suggest products so that obviously you're selling more. You need to develop the right content for your audiences, your demographics, and your market segments that inspire action. So it's not enough for them to just watch your video. We actually want them to do something else after that. And then always optimize, watch the movement and the data every day, keeping in mind that you have to give it a little bit of room to breathe and to work. Facebook is running about 3 days behind in ad delivery, and they actually say it could be longer due to COVID-19. So every ad is reviewed. So it is taking a little bit longer right now, but usually 2 to 3 days. So if you're going to run an ad for an event or something, always make sure you're giving yourself that buffer zone of 2 to 3 days so that it can actually get into news feeds. And then just always watching to realign and reanalyze to grow your market.
Talk to me a little bit about money, because I think a lot of times people, especially small businesses or people now in this time when a lot of businesses maybe aren't bringing in the kind of cash flow that they were prior to the quarantine and whatnot. So does Facebook have a variety of, am I committed? Am I locked in? Because if I run a TV ad or a radio spot or buy something in the newspaper, I know it's going to be X amount. But with these kinds of ads, it kind of fluctuates. Is that right?
It does. I mean, you can set daily budgets, you can set lifetime budgets, and depending on your objective, you can get a good brand awareness campaign going for very little money. When you're talking about impression campaign, you pay by the thousands. So you can get a lot of impressions for a very little amount of money on social media. If you're looking for link clicks or lead generation, they're going to cost more. But you can really, if you know your audience and you know exactly who your buyers are, we can really narrow that in and set a smaller budget so that you can see more immediate gains with a very, very narrow audience. It's all about, that funnel marketing. So finding those buyers that are really ready to buy and serving the content that is going to inspire them to buy.
And if, if a business doesn't necessarily know their audience, because I think a lot of times also we get so caught up in running the day-to-day operations, and we don't take the time, or we don't have the time, I guess is more appropriate, to look at those numbers and look at, who our followers or who our potential customers are. But luckily, there is software out there that looks at the behaviors, because a lot of what we do, it's all behavior driven. And it's funny to hear people kind of talking and saying, oh, well, I Google searched this, and now all these products are showing up on my Facebook page. It happened to me just the other day. I ordered something online, and then lo and behold, boom, boom, all these ads start popping up. So it's all very, it's all very strategically done. But if you find yourself in that situation where you can't or don't have the time to look at your audience and look at who your potential audience is, we have obviously software in place too that we can kind of monitor some of those behaviors and then create a proactive approach, and not just throw something up against the wall and hope that it sticks.
Yeah, we never want to do that. And that's really where you get this full funnel marketing approach in performance marketing. One, we're going to know, we're going to test content, and we're going to do all of that posting. And really, when you separate things out and you have an in-house team do this and an agency do this section, and then, you're kind of mashing things together to see where your return is. That's not what you want to do. You want to have a very streamlined approach. So we do all of that when we actually work with a client, because we are all about, we don't want to run an ad that we have no idea. We don't have any kind of projection on how it's going to perform. And the only way to do that is to test it by creating quality content and posting it, and then measuring those posts and those activities, and then doing small test ads, A/B testing, all of those little things day to day are, that social media marketing part of it. But we take that and then we combine it with the data and really analyze it, and then go into ad creation. So that's really where we find the best content. But our software monitors competitors. It can be across the street, it can be across the country, it can be across the world. If they do the same thing and they have the same market, we can monitor them. We know exactly when they launch a new campaign. We get real-time alerts. We can see what channels they're placing ads on. We can see what their ads look like. We can even get a pretty good idea of what they are spending, if not exact amounts. So we know what is working for them, what has worked. We know the moment that they launch a campaign. So that also helps us fine tune our clients' campaigns, kind of on the run.
And that's the beauty of that kind of Facebook specifically, because like I said, if you lock into an ad, a print ad in the newspaper or a radio spot or TV, there's a lot of cost and time because you're under a contract or there's commitments. But with social media marketing or, these ads, you can kind of tweak them on the fly, like you said, and then set it and see if it works. And if it doesn't, whereas, more traditional types of ads, it's a bit more cumbersome in terms of changing, and you're not able to kind of tweak it on the fly like that.
Right. I mean, we always want to refresh the content and make sure that our bidding strategies are working, and that we're always adjusting those so that we can get the most return. But just blending the content, making it look like it belongs is a huge portion of that, and creating your specific audiences, and just tracking not only how you're doing, but competitors are doing, and creating this overall strategy. So we can set daily limits on Facebook ads. You can say, I really want to focus on this for a month. And then we take that data and we create new ads so that we're always refreshing the content. I would not suggest running an ad for 3 days and saying, oh, this works or this doesn't work, because it does take time to to measure and to work.
I like the fact that what you said about like making it part of your content, because for those of us that have antenna TV still, when it goes to commercial break, it's a commercial. But with Facebook ads, or with the social media, with these types of ads, if you're making it a more natural part of your content, and matching it up with what you're posting as regular content as well, it's not as jarring, and probably you're not as inclined to change the channel as you would with a TV, or click to another page, or jump to something different. So it's very important, as Whitney said, to kind of work in tandem with the organic content that you're creating and some of those ads that you are making as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balancing act of brand building, casting that wide net, and that's done by building a wide range of content so that we know what works with who, and where, on what platform. So it really just kind of defines your brand, determines who you are, and then tells people why you are the best. So just that brand awareness campaign. And then we've got the activation process. And those are when you've got specific objectives. And those are what leads to your return on ad spend.
So now when it comes to like a Facebook ad, for example, Facebook owns Instagram, as we know. Do those ads automatically carry over onto Instagram feeds as well, even if you don't have a presence on Instagram? Or how does that work?
You do need to have a Facebook page.
Right.
Or an Instagram page.
Okay.
So when you go into ad creation, on the most basic level, you can choose automatic placements or manual placements. And then depending on what type of content, it will, if you say automatic placements, depending on if you just upload an image, then it's going to say, okay, well, you can't run it here, 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 and here. So that's really where you want to make sure that you've got a healthy amount of content. You want to have a content library, multiple images, videos, both short and long, because you really want to be able to hit all of the Facebook platforms, Messenger, Instagram, Stories, in-stream, all of native advertisement and banners. Every placement you want to be able to have content for, because each placement has a different demographic and a different audience.
It's very interesting, and it can, like we said, be confusing and maybe to the point where you just decide not to do it at all, or figure that it's not going to work for you, or whatever the case may be. So Whitney, that's why it's so important that if people do have questions, we can provide answers, we can kind of point them in the right direction, and we can actually work on that ad creation and matching it with the voice that they are selling with their or providing for their regular content.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound scary. Measuring advertisement, your return on advertisements has never been easy. Television, radio, you think of traditional methods, there was no way to really measure that. We knew how many viewers or listeners there were, but we could ask people if they came in or they bought something where they saw us. But there was really no real KPIs. Now we have anything digital, is you can measure everything, and you can connect the data, and that's where quality data systems come in place. So with anything, you get the most when you have those quality data systems in place, and you really don't have to spend a ton of money. Social advertising is very cheap. You have to do it because, again, that organic ranking is just very, very hard to obtain. But you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. It takes work and management, but we have a team that we have flexible budgets. We work with very, very small businesses to very large organizations. So it's all just about creating a package that's right for the business. We kind of do that across the board.
And how consistent do you need to be with ads versus obviously content when you're creating everyday content that's going out as a social media post? Obviously, we talk about the importance of that and being consistent and keeping that voice, especially now during COVID-19. You don't want to kind of lay so low that you fall off people's radar, but you also don't want to get lost in all the shuffle of everybody posting at the same time as well. So there's a balancing act that we are doing there. But with ad create, if you go ad, can you lay low for a bit and then come back with more ads? Or once you start this, is it a process that you really need to keep that kind of rapid fire going?
It really kind of depends on your objective. And, the strength of the push, what you need. You can lay low. I never recommend pulling out ads completely because it should actually be part of your strategy. And, when we build packages out for clients, we always have a set amount that is dedicated for advertisement, just so that we can stay in the news feeds. Organic, again, the traffic is just so low, we can't depend on that. So you always need to have that constant stream, but it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars that you need to spend. You can do a lot with very little money on social media as long as we are targeting the right people. Yeah. And that's kind of where what it all boils down to is having the data systems to find those people and to be able to deliver them what they want to see.
And that's where an agency like Idea Creative Marketing comes into play, because we have the technology, we have the ability to look and see, and help you better spend your ad dollars, so you again aren't just flinging something against the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Only monkeys do that.
If you have questions, comments, concerns about Facebook ads or even just getting started, let us know. ideacreativemarketing.com. You can email us, call us 529-0969, and you can also suggest future ideas for us for No Idea Live. We do it. We're going to hopefully have a consistent Wednesday afternoon spot here for you on the Idea Creative Marketing Facebook page. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And again, Whitney, thank you so much for all your valuable insights.
I try not to blow you too bad.
All righty, guys. Thank you again for watching, and we'll talk again next week.
Bye, guys.